Please welcome Cris Cohen.
Thank you. I love music, but it was clear early on that I was not going to be a rock star. For one thing, I'm an awful drummer. You would not be able to tell the difference between me playing the drums and someone who just happened to be holding a pair of sticks at the moment that he had a seizure. I'm also a huge introvert. Even during this short talk, there's a good chance I may wet myself. If you do not see me around afterward, it's because I've gone in search of new pants. And yet, none of this dimmed my love of music. I love listening to music, talking about music, reading about music in books, magazines, liner notes. I think I've read the liner notes on every album I've ever owned. For those of you who don't know, the liner notes is that small text at the back of the album jacket after the lyrics where the band thanks the producer, the engineers. Most people look at that and think, who the hell reads this? Me. I the hell read that. And I tried to have a job that involved music. I worked in radio for a few years. I worked for a couple of radio stations in California where the management looked down on me openly because I was there because I loved music. And they were there because they loved advertising rates. And also, according to them, I had strange ideas, like, what if we played more than 12 songs in a day? So since that was not going to pan out, I hung up my headphones and I got a real job. Like many introverted geeks, I went to work for a large technology company. At the time, I thought, well, I might not be working in music, but at least I'll have a stable job. So last year, after I was laid off, again, I did some freelance writing. This led to an interview with Huey Lewis and the News. I was very excited about this. The first album I ever owned was Huey Lewis and the News. They were the first band I ever saw in concert. And I was prepping for the interview. I noticed they weren't really doing much with social media. They were on Facebook, but sporadically. They weren't on Twitter at all. And I noticed this of other bands. They were not on social media at all, or if they were doing it, they just weren't doing it well. So this is when I had my big crazy idea. What if I could help musicians with social media? What if I could make that my job? 3 days before the concert, I did a phone interview with Huey Lewis. At the end of the interview, I pitched him my idea. He said, I like what you're saying. Let's talk about this more on Saturday. I said, great. How? And he said, well, you're coming to the show, right? I said, well, I have tickets. I don't have backstage passes. And he said, well, now you do. So during the opening act, I went back and I spoke with Huey and Bill Gibson, the drummer, and Lowell, their manager. And I said, I think there's a lot of untapped potential for you guys with social media to promote what you're doing, to connect with your fans. And I would love to help you with that. I said, you're on Facebook, but you're not doing that much with it. I said, you're not on Twitter at all. There are 3 fake Huey Lewis accounts on Twitter. I said, at least I assume you guys didn't set up the account with the name, I'm Huey Lewis, bitch. And Huey said, I don't know. I may have said that at one point in time. So at the end of our meeting, he said, we're going to think about this. So I went back out to the main area. I watched the concert. It was great. I came backstage after the show, and Huey came up to me and he said, I think we're going to make this happen. And 3 weeks later, I became the social media specialist for Huey Lewis and the News. I never had any thoughts or dreams of being an entrepreneur. Until last year, my boldest business move was using a drive-up cash machine. Now, much to the surprise of everyone, I have my own business. I have various clients consisting of bands, individual musicians, and even some other businesses. This wannabe drummer gets to work with people like Rich Redmond, who's the drummer for Jason Aldean. I got to hang out on stage with the band while they did their sound check. And that's now considered putting in time at the office. I get to work with people like Annie Clements of Sugarland. And I still have business meetings, but they're on tour buses. And they're backstage at venues. And I've even gotten a chance to sit down and play Bill Gibson's drum kit, although badly as usual. And this year, the band Cowboy Mouth came out with a new album called This Train, and I'm in the liner notes. Thank you.